special interest sessions and taster sessions are the ideal way for trainees to become involved in research. So core trainees, as well as any other healthcare professionals, can attend MARC for taster days. And that's how I started at MARC in January last year. So it was during my final placement in core psychiatry training. I really enjoyed sort of my taster sessions at MARC, so I was keen to return during my higher training. So during registrar years in higher training, you can use 1/5 of your training as a special interest. So trainees can choose to use this time to become involved in research. So I didn't have much prior research experience, so I wasn't sure what opportunities would be available, but the MARC team supported me to do all the training I needed to become a sub-investigator. So I worked on commercial trials. So these are the large clinical trials, often funded by pharmaceutical companies. So being a sub-investigator allows you to follow participants through a trial. So from the beginning consent process all the way through monitoring, gathering data until the very end of a trial. So it's a really good way to see a journey through research. As experience builds up, trainees can then go on to become a principal investigator. And so that's the person who's got overall responsibility for the conduct of the trial, and then you'll be leading a group of sub-investigators. So there's great opportunities to develop your research and leadership skills as a trainee. And depending on your research aims, you can develop your own research ideas, you can become involved in non-commercial projects, and this can lead to publications, which is also really useful for your CV. I've added the mission statement of Southern Health on research because I just think it really does reflect the ethos at MARC. That, you know, it's not, trainees are very welcome to learn more about research, but that goes to other healthcare professionals as well. The other posts that we have at MARC are academic clinical fellows. So one of our academic fellows started this year, and then we've got another post starting in August. So they get 9 months of protected research time during core training. And this is often used to complete a pilot research study, and with the aim to develop a proposal for a larger study, which can then lead to a PhD. And I think Professor Holmes has supervised at least 5 PhD students. So this is definitely one route into completing a PhD, but there are other routes. And then you don't necessarily have to be a medical doctor. So one of our research assistants is currently doing a PhD at MARC, and then one of our research nurses is also hoping to do one in the future. I'll talk a bit about my current role as a CRN Wessex Research Fellow, and I'm able to carry out this alongside my SD4 post in old age psychiatry. So the clinical research network is made up of 15 local clinical research networks, and one of which is the CRN Wessex. And they help coordinate and support the delivery of research across different specialties. So the CRN Wessex developed a fellowship programme that started in 2012, and the aim was to help trainees develop skills to deliver research, but also use evidence-based medicine during their careers. So you can see that there's more sort of flexible entries into the programme. So it's from the start of core training well into higher training as well. My role is divided between work on commercial trials as a sub-investigator and also non-commercial trials. And that's given me experience in research design and setup. There's also a training programme that's provided. So this year they're running 5 training sessions and also a statistics course. I'm the first, as Brady mentioned, I'm the first CRN research fellow at MARC. So I'm really hoping that it will continue and that other trainees can have the same experience as well, because it's a great sort of introduction to research, developing skills you can use in your clinical career. Just to quickly mention my involvement in PEBBAL, which is our non-commercial research project. So it's looking at the permeability of the blood-brain barrier in Alzheimer's disease. And we've recently received a pump priming grant to help with some of the costs as well, which we're really pleased about. So it's a pilot study looking at the permeability of the blood-brain barrier in Alzheimer's disease. And we're using a new type of scan which can measure the movement of contrast across the barrier. And it's interesting because previous studies have shown a faster rate of cognitive decline in Alzheimer's disease in the presence of peripheral inflammation. And we think it's likely that the blood-brain barrier plays a role in this. So you can see our hypothesis there is that permeability will be increased in Alzheimer's disease, and that increased permeability will also predict faster cognitive decline. So the study is going to be held over 12 months with a total of 30 participants, 15 with Alzheimer's disease and 15 controls. And we'll be looking at the cognitive testing results at baseline and comparing them 12 months later. So it's going to be a really interesting study, and I hope that the pilot study will then lead to a further larger research study as well. I just wanted to leave you with some of the comments from our sub-investigators. As Brady mentioned, that they did a podcast back in March, and these were some of the comments that were made about their time there. And I just wanted to say that any trainees who'd like to find out more about research would have a very warm welcome, because it's a great team, it's lots of fun to be part of. I'll just mention I put a photo of us in the river because one of our research nurses has got us into cold water swimming. So you'll be very welcome to have a go at that too. But I'll leave that for another presentation to talk more about that.